Are you at a crossroads in a relationship and wondering if you should continue dating? Stay tuned to learn how to make that decision. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Allen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In today's video, we'll be using a 3-card spread to answer the question, I am at a crossroads with a new man in my life and not sure what to do. Should I continue seeing him? I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there's a link below. For simplicity's sake, I will call the querent Madison. Madison did not mention using a spread. However, I will be using the Strengths, Weaknesses, Outcomes spread. Card number 1 shows the strengths of the relationship. Madison drew the King of Cups. Card number 2 shows the weaknesses of the relationship. Madison drew the Page of Cups. Card number 3 shows the likely outcome of the relationship if things continue as they are, and Madison drew the Knight of Cups. I'll begin by talking about my first impressions. This is one of those readings where I wonder if Madison thoroughly shuffled the deck. We have 3 of the 4 court cards, and they're all in the suit of cups. We see blue skies in the background, and we see choppy water in each card. The people are all facing in different directions. The King is facing slightly to our right, the Page is facing slightly to our left, and the Knight is facing completely to our right. All 3 have cups in their right hands. All are wearing headgear, but they are very different. We see fish in all 3 cards. There is a fish to our left on the King and also on his necklace. There's a fish in the cup of the Page, and we can see fish on the clothing of the Knight. Cups represent love, so on first glance, with 3 cups, it seems like this is a relationship that Madison should continue. Let's look at each card individually and see if we agree at the end of the reading. Card number 1 shows the strengths of the relationship, and Madison drew the King of Cups. Kings are the wise, logical intellectuals of the tarot deck. The King of Cups is the king who is most connected to his intuition and his feelings. In the best case scenario, the King of Cups is calm, kind, compassionate, caring, and in full control of his emotions. He makes wise, fair, and thoughtful decisions. These are all great qualities, and he would make an ideal boyfriend for Madison. Because the King of Cups can balance his thoughts, emotions, and experience, he is considered to be very wise. He tells the truth and people trust him. He is tolerant and open-minded. He does not believe that he knows all of the answers. His goal is to make wise, thoughtful, and fair decisions. The King of Cups is someone who listens attentively. He is very empathic, compassionate, and understanding of others, including people who are less fortunate. This is another great quality in a boyfriend, as one of the complaints I often hear from my female friends is that their significant other doesn't listen to them. The King of Cups can represent a kind, stable, and emotionally mature leader. He is very aware of his emotions, but also knows how to keep them under control. He knows when to use logic and when to rely on his intuition. I can see how this would appeal to Madison, as it would make her feel safe and protected. The King of Cups is also someone who is calm when there is a crisis. He gives people time to speak and also gives himself time to feel his emotions and make good decisions. He makes a great diplomat because he doesn't rush. Instead, he creates an atmosphere of tolerance and lets both sides be heard. Once again, this is an excellent quality in a boyfriend. He's not someone who is going to jump to conclusions or fly off the handle if he gets angry. He will consider his facts and also his feelings. The King of Cups' personality tends to be quiet and modest, rather than flashy when compared to his fellow kings. He forms a deep emotional connection and focuses on protecting the people that he's responsible for. His focus is on people and not power or possessions. So Madison's boyfriend has a lot of strengths. He's mature, in touch with his emotions, listens carefully, and is able to balance his thoughts and emotions in a way that results in good decisions. He also tends to be quiet and modest, something that an introvert like myself would appreciate. Card number 2 looks at the weaknesses of the relationship, and Madison drew the Page of Cups. Pages are the children of the tarot deck. The Page of Cups is the page who is most in touch with his emotions. The big weakness of the Page of Cups as a boyfriend is that they are immature. Picture what it would be like to date a sensitive 6-year-old who is asked to do something that he doesn't want to, such as clean up his room instead of playing video games. They might have a tantrum and resort to yelling, stomping their feet, or throwing things. They might cry hysterically because they aren't mature enough to handle their emotions. They might withdraw from the situation, hide in a closet, and refuse to talk to you until you caved and gave them back their video game control. Or they might expect you to console them, even though you made a perfectly reasonable request. I think this is the big problem with their relationship. Madison expects that her boyfriend will be an equal partner in their relationship and help with the chores of adulthood without complaining. Instead, there are times when he acts like a 6-year-old and gets angry, mopes, or gives her the silent treatment. Despite the good qualities that we saw in the King of Cups, I doubt that she wants to put up with his immature behavior for the rest of her life. We also see the boyfriend on a stage looking at a fish in a cup. Once again, let's think of a 6-year-old. They often want to be the center of attention, but don't have the social skills to understand that hearing them talk about Pokemon cards for 2 hours straight is annoying. So perhaps she gets embarrassed because he wants to be the center of attention and expects people to follow his interests rather than giving other people time to speak and participate in a conversation. Another thing is that the boyfriend might be too idealistic. You can see that he's dressed in a very flamboyant fashion. Maybe he has goals, such as to be a performer, that don't align with what Madison wants in her future. The other thing is that Madison doesn't enjoy his sense of humor. For instance, he likes playing pranks and thinks things like putting a fish in a cup are hysterical. Madison disagrees and wishes he'd act more like an adult. So we see lots of negatives, mostly based around her boyfriend's immaturity and childish behavior. You've made it this far in the video, and I wanted to stop and ask for a favor if you're not already a subscriber, and that is to please hit the subscribe button. It's free for you, and it will also help me to grow this channel. Plus, it means that you won't miss anything. Thanks so much, and if you're already a subscriber, I truly appreciate your ongoing support. Now let's get back to the video. Card number 3 shows the likely outcome of the relationship if things continue as they are. Madison drew the Knight of Cups. I have to admit that I struggled with how to interpret this card. We have 3 cup court cards here, so theoretically this should turn out well for Madison, but my gut told me it would not. The Knight of Cups can be a boyfriend who is very nurturing. He would be very in tune with Madison's feelings and openly expressive of his love for her, so that would bode well for the future. Knights represent people in their late teens and early 20s. I like to think of them as the fraternity boys of the deck. They have lots of ideas and testosterone, so they can be very unpredictable and not always think things through. Add that to the fact that he likely has an idealized view of love and probably lots of hormones, so he may interpret an innocent touch on his shoulder to be a romantic relationship he wishes to pursue, or even a marriage proposal. Knights move quickly, and he could move on from Madison to someone else in an instant, and that would be a big negative. The Knight of Cups makes decisions based on his heart, his intuition, and his gut feelings. He can be very sensitive, which makes it very tough to have adult discussions. He is also on a horse, so you can see that he is not very grounded, which makes him a bit like the page who isn't excited to be an adult. The Knight of Cups is traditionally seen as the knight in shining armor. That means that he can be extremely charming and seductive, but is not necessarily interested in settling down with one person. He's more interested in following his heart than thinking through what he is doing or making practical decisions. Also, the boyfriend might be a person who likes to rescue people whether or not they need to be rescued. That could mean that he takes off on a whim when he decides there is a damsel in need of his services. Or, if he stays with Madison, he's very smothering. He doesn't allow Madison the freedom to grow because he feels like they should be together all the time. Something I just noticed is that we do not see 2 people in any of the cards. I just see the boyfriend. I think that's why I've been hesitant to give this relationship my stamp of approval. Seeing the Lovers or the Two of Cups would indicate a relationship. In this case, I feel like the Knight is out for himself and not concerned about Madison. Let's summarize. Should Madison continue seeing the new man in her life? I think the answer is no. Card number 1, the King of Cups, shows that there are many strengths in the relationship. Under some circumstances, we have a kind, mature man who is a good listener. He's also quiet, modest, and able to balance his thoughts and emotions. Card number 2, the Page of Cups, shows the weaknesses of the relationship. And here we see an immature, socially awkward prankster who can't control his emotions and doesn't want to give up his childish ways. Card number 3, the Knight of Cups, shows the likely outcome of the relationship if things continue as they are. And I think we have a potential womanizer who is more interested in following his heart and maybe another part of his body rather than being part of a long-term relationship with Madison. I hope that this video gave you some ideas that you can apply to your tarot practice. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share what you learned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.